The Forever Winter, a game where you try to survive in a world full of giant robots, some of which try and eat you. It's officially launching in early access very soon, and we just got a ton more gameplay info. So just to quickly recap exactly what Forever Winter is, it's a third-person co-op extraction shooter set in a grimdark world where robots have basically taken over. You collect missions for specific regions of the world, and the goal is to gather as many resources as you can while surviving against AI NPCs. Extracting alive will add those resources that you've collected to your customizable and upgradable home base, which is where you build new weapons and enhance your abilities via a mechanical rig that you wear. The conflict is also persistent, meaning that even when you're not playing, the actions of other players and the NPCs will alter the geography and how hostile each region is. It kind of sounds like Helldivers 2 blended with Escape from Tarkov and, I don't know, Death Stranding to an extent. Now, as for the new info that we just got, Forever Winter is launching on Steam Early Access September 24th, the end of this month. The devs recently had a beta with select playtesters, and their feedback is being incorporated into this early access build. The game will be $27 in early access, and they'll offer a special edition that includes the game's original soundtrack for an additional cost. The devs also confirmed that the game will have no pay-to-win monetization at all. This game is an extraction shooter at its core, and games like Escape from Tarkov and Arena Breakout Infinite have been in hot water recently for including some seriously egregious pay-to-win nonsense in their games. The Forever Winter's devs explicitly say that there will be no fees for additional characters, bosses, weapons, or other gameplay content, saying that nickel and dime crap is for the birds. They will, however, offer optional skin packs that help fund their team or artists working on the game, and to no one's surprise, the community is very excited about this type of transparency and business model. Now, the developers have also prepared a proper roadmap of content that will release on a set schedule. Starting with maps, the devs are including a work-in-progress gray box version of the upcoming maps alongside the finished content at the start of early access. The first gray box map is called Mech Trenches, and it's scheduled to launch in its finished form during Q3 this year. The additional maps will roll out as they're finished, with the next one called Underground slated for Q4, and so on and so forth. And if the game does well enough in early access, they're going to expand their environments and explore new ideas. They're also letting early access players vote in an exclusive Discord channel on the order in which bosses are added to the game, which is kind of cool. You have some agency over what you think will be the coolest and what you want to see first. And considering that some of the trailers show you fighting tanks that are using zombie corpses as body armor, I can only imagine what boss level enemies will be like in this game. Now, overall, it's primarily a co-op extraction shooter, but unlike most games in this space, it'll support not just online play, but peer-to-peer networking and local matches, which is pretty cool. So regardless of the game's player count or server status, you should always be able to play the game in one way or another, which is actually awesome and a much bigger topic these days, as there may be upcoming legal precedent to force more devs to make their games playable even if the official servers go down. And seeing more devs incorporate this kind of functionality just by their own choice is awesome. Now, in addition to the early access trailer, the devs also released a 20-minute long Q&A video answering all the top questions from the community. One of the first ones being, well, how hardcore is the game? To which the devs responded, very effing hardcore for sure. We can't overstate that enough. They emphasize stealth and smart decision making will be your only tangible resource to staying alive for long periods of time. Basically, the enemies will be incredibly brutal and you can improve your odds by just avoiding open conflict, but they still want players to enjoy the weapons that they've built, so there will still be plenty of things to shoot. Just don't expect to John Rambo your way through every level. Now, when it comes to the finer survival mechanics like health, food, and water, the devs talked at length about how water works in the game. This is a key resource that is central to maintaining and expanding your home base, which they call the innards. Water will degrade over time, even when you're not playing the game, and it's vital to attracting new vendors and upgrading and expanding your base. So if you let the water go bad, your base will suffer. Beta players were concerned where if they couldn't play the game for a long period of time, how much of their base would degrade by the time they got back, and will that ruin lots of your in-game progress? The response from the devs is that they're still tweaking things, but that you always have a clear picture of what's going on with your water, like how much you can store, how fast it's degrading, and how much you're using. They're also looking at mechanics that'll help sustain or even gain your water over time. The devs mentioned that beta players had no problem maxing out their water storage capacity on day one, and there'll also be comeback mechanics like being able to trade credits that you've earned to restock your water supply and stuff. Your base can even come under attack by hostile NPCs and wreck your population, so water won't be the only thing that you're concerned about. Now, when it comes to the way that the game is going to handle mismatched player progression and co-op players mixing in with solo players, this is pretty interesting. Whoever ends up hosting the lobby will dictate what's available in the base that you all share while playing together. So if you have a friend that's brand new to the game and they host the lobby, you'll be limited to the things that they've unlocked in their base. But if you have a high level friend, then you'll have access to all the stuff that they have available in their base. And the coolest part of this is that if you have the money to buy some of that high level gear in your friend's endgame base, you can keep that gear with you even when you are playing in a server without them. It goes directly to your character and your base. Players can also donate gear to each other if they're really strapped for resources. So it very much seems like the game is saying just play how you want versus trying to restrict players to tight progression mechanics. Now, of course, with any early access game, pacing of updates is going to be a concern. The devs reiterated that they have a plan that they're trying to stick to, with new maps being the primary content that they're focusing on, but they want to focus on the big performance or bug issues and iron those out before completing major content milestones. And while the game is primarily a co-op experience, it will still include a baseline anti-cheat system to ensure that everyone plays fair, but it won't be an aggressive kernel level anti-cheat solution like something you might find in Valorant, for example. Now, the game will also offer a selection of characters to play as, and the devs say that each one of them has a very unique and distinct personality and abilities. Character attributes like carry capacity, available weapons, rigs, speed, health, and more will all be tuned on a per character basis, which I think is kind of interesting for an extraction shooter. Usually we're not limited to specific characters and everybody starts off equally, but mixing in character stats could mix up the strategies in a cool way. Now, the devs also discussed supporting platforms other than Windows. They said that the game is playable on Steam Deck, though not at 60 FPS, and that they might work on supporting Linux a little bit better after early access. Now, personally, I'm super excited to jump into this game later this month. That said, considering that the devs are launching some gray box content along with the early access, I do expect it to be a little rough around the edges and potentially light on content if they're already throwing gray box stuff in there, but the unique vision of this game is honestly intoxicating and kind of refreshing, so I'm all there for it. Plus, a super hardcore PvE co-op extraction game could be extremely cool if done right. What are your thoughts on Forever Winter? Will you be jumping into the beta at the end of this month? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and ding that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm with me. Also, if you haven't seen the latest update to Hunt Showdown, one of my favorite extraction games, check out this video here. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.